People all around you. You want a city where you're living to also be a living city. You must have all heard of the term smart cities. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the term smart city. They talked about all infrastructure which is smart, great digital transformations, a lot of technology, um, solar energy, renewable energies, different kinds of things to make it a smart city. But if the city does not have green, if the city does not have water bodies, how will you call it a smart city? So my focus is going to be on what makes a city a really green and smart city. I'm going to talk to you about enhancing urban biodiversity, taking you through how can urban biodiversity is a very big term. For many of you, you might be thinking, what is biodiversity? Basically, it's a total of everything, plants, animals, genetic diversity, species diversity, all sorts of it. So just very quickly, some of you know what WWF is. We are an international organization. In India, we are working in more than 75 locations, working on supporting biodiversity and reducing humanity's global footprint. So when we talk about urban biodiversity, there is a very thin line between the land of nature and the realm of civilization. So like I was saying, how would you define it? It's a different things, genes, populations, communities. So many ways to define urban biodiversity. When you look at a city, you are living in a mosaic of the city. There are different components in a city. You have buildings, you have transport, you have infrastructure, and you have many facets in a city which makes it a really living city. If you look at our urban world, almost 49.2% of the world's population live in cities. Our urban population is increasing enormously. A large number of people want to move to urban areas to find employment, to find a better lifestyle, and more cities are expanding. If you had seen Hyderabad 20, 30 years back, it was very different from what you see Hyderabad today. People who have been in Hyderabad have seen a lot of rocks, but today you see all these rockscapes are gone. All you have is in a large number of buildings. So a conversion of land has taken place from rocks to urban built up area. In this built up area, you have a simulated ecosystem because we want to also have some recreation. We want to want place to breathe our lungs for the city. So you have city parks, you have gardens, you have ponds, lakes, tanks, and all of you must be knowing that Hyderabad is one of the city which is called the city of lakes, with many lakes in Hyderabad. Then you have adapted ecosystems. By adapted ecosystems, we talk about plants and animals which adapt to whatever is available to them. So if you look at this image here, there are bridges which are taken over by some birds. You have some birds which nest on the lights. I think this is a very, very known scene. If you are walking around the city looking into the sky, you will realize that this is a very known fact which happens, where birds are occupying spaces on light poles and living in different, trying to adapt to the ecosystem which is there in a city. Even in a global, if you look at the global ecosystem, some animals have actually adapted to live in a city. Like if you can see this moth, which I'm showing you over here, there is a moth of the lighter version and a moth of the darker version. During the Industrial Revolution, people thought that maybe the darker moths, lighter moths are more available, but during after the Industrial Revolution, when all the walls were coated with soot, the lighter moths were being seen more. What was the reason? Because uh, the lighter moths were being eaten away, and the darker moths were adapting to the ecosystem by sitting on those darker walls and things like that. So animals also adapt, and they also try to find means to live in the city. Our cities also have corridors. Like if you have, some of you have heard about wildlife corridors which support wild animal movement. Even in our city, if you look at our Hyderabad city itself, there are many corridors which connect different areas. If you look like Osmania University, it has a large campus. You move on towards our Sikandrabad area. There are large army cantonments which has a large green cover towards University of Hyderabad. All these are all corridors for animal movement. So these are urban corridors for animal movement. If you look at despite so much of built up area, a place like Delhi, it hosts more than 100 species of birds. That is almost one third of all the birds that are found in the subcontinent. Pune shelters almost half the species of animals than which are there in other cities, and also recorded from the Deccan Plateau. So should we say that these animals are ruling our urban areas? Many of you have seen that this is a big conflict in the city. Some of you must have seen this conflict. We get a lot of calls saying there are monkeys in our area, do something about it. This is a problem not only in urban but also in the rural area. It becomes a huge issue because these animals are quite ferocious. They are used to being fed by the human beings, and when you start feeding them, they start depending on you, and then when you don't feed them and their food is not available, they become aggressive and they try to attack you. And this is a very commonly seen phenomenon. So many of us say, what is the plants and animals are not there? What is the use? What is the requirement? So what is the role that biodiversity plays in our life? It gives us a lot of free services. All of us know that we get from trees, the most important element that we get is oxygen. It comes free. None of us are paying for it, right? So that is one major. If you look at pest management, we have so many birds which actually do the control of other dead animals. Today, you rarely see scavengers like, the vultures and all. So they also provide pest management support. Then you have your gardens and all which cool your air. You have wetlands, lakes in the city which actually bring down the temperature. I'm sure many of you have heard about the heat island effect. Heat island effect is caused because of the large built up areas. There is barely any heat to dissipate. It all gets trapped in this built up area, and this is what is called the heat island effect. So for that, you need to have more green areas. You need to have more spaces to cool down the temperature. Water acts as such, a water body acts as as a temperature regulatory mechanism. So you need as much lakes and water bodies in a city as you need buildings and as many trees also. They also help in stabilizing our groundwater and reducing erosion. And then of course, pollination, many of you are familiar that bees, birds, many other insects are go from one flower to other, pollination takes place, and that's how many of us also know that honeybee, which all of us are familiar with. Today, we are seeing a drastic decline in the honeybee population, not only globally, but even in India. So that is a big case of concern because we use so much of pesticides, so much of fertilizers in our spraying, even in our urban gardens, in our urban areas. We like nice cultivated lawns. We like nice cultivated potted plants, and we spray them because we want to maintain them. And that we don't realize is actually causing a lot of impact on other animals, which could be like bees. Bees feed on the flowers for their nectar. They take nectar. And you are indirectly actually killing bees by using excessive pesticides and fertilizers, chemical pesticides for to keep your lawns clean and nice. These bees and insects are again fed upon by other birds. So what happens to these birds? It's a chain reaction. This same pesticide, chemical pesticide, passes on to the birds. Many of you know here, who all are present, Palapitta is our state bird. I think all of you are familiar with that, right? This bird is drastically declining, the population. And why is it declining? It is because these birds feed on insects. These insects feed on the crops or on the flowers, which are all laced with pesticides. So there is a chain reaction. You are actually seeing decline of the Palapitta population. So these are the role that a biodiversity, a plant or an animal plays in an ecosystem, which we little pay attention to. Then there is something very interesting which happens in urban areas with birds. I think all of us love to wake up with the call of birds. Traditionally, we used to say when the cock crows, it's early morning, it's time to wake up. A lot of birds call in the dawn time, in the early morning, say about 5:36. If you get up, you will see them call. Do you know that city birds, because of so much of noise pollution, the city birds are calling much louder than the same bird in the rural area? That means that the bird, to make itself heard, is screaming much higher to be heard to its own family members. It's trying to call louder. So there is a lot of bird acoustics, voice acoustic studies which are done to understand that city birds are having this impact of using higher pitch calls as against the rural birds. I'll just skip this. So what can you do to enhance urban nature? There are many ways that common public, all of us can take up enhancing urban nature by looking at what are the species that will grow in your own area. This is a property fair. You will see beautifully landscaped gardens shown in the designs and all that. But my request to everybody is that please see what thrives easily with less water. A place like Hyderabad is already water deficit. So what are the plants that you can use which will survive without too much of watering? So these are the kind of plantations that we should take up. Like WWF has taken up looking after the biodiversity park, which is at Gachibowli. It took us quite a lot of time to understand what species are which can be planted, which will use less water, because all our areas are predominantly rocky areas. So this is what one needs to look at, what should be planted. In fact, CII Green Business Center and WWF and some of us has also come out with the book 101 native species which can be used for horticulture purposes. If you approach CII, you might be able to get that copy. We have actually brought out a list of plants which can be used for your landscaping, which can be used for your horticulture purposes. So if you look at how our city looks after its biodiversity, Hyderabad has been doing fairly well. There is a city biodiversity index analysis which is done, and in that it has been found that the city is doing reasonably well, but more needs to be done to do better for the city's biodiversity index. In the recently released report, the city biodiversity index of Hyderabad has definitely improved from the one which was earlier. So these kind of initiatives can be taken up. There are a lot of green spaces in Hyderabad, major parks, colony parks, tree parks. There are 3 national parks in the Hyderabad city. We have water bodies. Close to about 2857 water bodies were recorded, but I don't know what is the status now. We have reserve forests. So we just need to give spaces for animals and plants to thrive. So rather than just focusing on green spaces, we should focus on the ecology of the city. Make a space where the living and non-living components of the city can interact with each other. We need to have buildings, like many of you know that sparrow population is declining. Some of you think that sparrow population is declining because of the microwave radiation from the cell phone towers, etc. But that is not the reason of sparrow population declining. The reason sparrow moved away, they moved away from the city, is because of the infrastructure. The infrastructure has changed. You have more glass and steel buildings as against what we used to have earlier, like a ventilation. We used to have spaces for birds like sparrows and all to nest. Today those are completely changed. So definitely animals go and find habitats where they can live. So we need to provide habitats for them also, because ultimately if you want to get up in the morning, be inspired, I think it is the nature which inspires you the most. So in a living habitat, in a urban city, I think biodiversity also needs to be given a chance. And these are the way, like if you look at our old infrastructure in the city, the temples, our dargahs, each place was designed in such a way that even any other plant, any other animal could find a refuge, could go and stay in. We have dargahs, we have sacred groves. something like a Pahadi Sharif. If you go and see the Pahadi Sharif area, you'll see a lot of plants which are there, a lot of tree, a lot of birds. People go bird watching in those areas. Then you have a famous rat temple, which is in Bikaner. Many of you must be knowing Karni Mata temple. There is, the rats are given a chance to thrive over there. People come and eat the prasadam on which the rats have walked also, but nothing, never a plague has been noticed. So there are so many such inspirations already there in our architecture, which provides space for biodiversity. Look at this animal friendly architecture, providing bird nesting sites, water during the summer months. I think many of you must be familiar with this kind of Havelis, whether they're the Rajput style or the Mughal style or the Pune Rajwadas. Everybody at those times, even if you look at our own Golconda Fort, it has a very excellent water channeling system. Water would actually be all captured and it went into one particular house from which the water was being used. Today we have forgotten all this wisdom which we already had about looking after our plants, looking after our water bodies, looking after our... So we need to give such spaces for animals to thrive. So a lot of initiatives are being done by people. If you're interested, you all can join this, where people are going out more and more documenting birds. Very recently, from Hyderabad, one photographer has been awarded the first prize globally for his beautiful picture, which is photographed in and around Hyderabad city itself. So there are lot of interest, and citizens like you can also join these kinds of initiative. But what I want to also leave a message with you is that when you are thinking about your green space, when you're thinking about your buildings, your apartments, there is a lot that you all can do. There is a lot of space that you all can create. Besides just thinking about water harvesting pits, besides thinking about solar energy, can you think about what can be planted? Can you reach out to experts who can give you information on what can be planted in your lawns? You don't need some of these foreign origin plants which do not help the local ecology. So there is a lot of knowledge already available, and if you are interested, organizations like CII, Green Business Center, they have the wherewithal to give you this information. Similarly, we do a lot of citizen space program. Anyone is interested, WWF India, you can come over and you can meet us, and we can discuss many more interesting initiatives that we take up. And just have a small... I'm just showing you we had conducted one Hyderabad annual tree survey. And why I'm showing you is this, that there's something called exotic trees and there's something called native trees. And when we did this survey at 23 locations across Hyderabad, we were trying to understand what animal uses which tree. And in our studies, we found out that native plants are used more by the animals as against exotic plants. So there is a lot of knowledge over there. I will just show you quickly some of these. If we are going to look at our plantation, if we are going to look at our green spaces, we should try and see what can we grow in our infrastructure, in our gated communities. If we can give space for these plants and animals to thrive, it will be that even the ecology of the Hyderabad city you will have less water utilization. The reason why we talk about native species is that you should have less and less water utilization in these maintaining your greenery, whether you're maintaining your greenery or your potted plants. It is very easy because the plants are already adapted to the local climate. So if you're interested, there is a lot of information already available, and WWF will be happy to work with you all to get this information. I just leave you all with one small film.
39 pence, please, madam.
Think. The customer may not always want a plastic bag.
Do you want a plastic bag for that, madam?
Yes, please.
Think. The customer may not always need a plastic bag. Do you need a plastic bag for those, madam?
Yes, thank you.
Do you need a plastic bag for those, madam?
Think. The customer might have kept the plastic bag the shopkeeper gave her last time. Well, can I have a plastic bag?
Think. The customer could have remembered to bring the plastic bag the shopkeeper gave her the time before last.
Think. The customer did remember to bring the plastic bag the shopkeeper gave her, but the shopkeeper's plastic bags don't last 2 seconds.
There. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Think. The customer is now displaying double standards.